It's time for the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
On this week's TOTAP, Dan is at the Cork homecoming. Oh no, hang on. We are joined by Neal Horgan to discuss the upcoming Forest event in Collins on the 2nd of August. The ARC is no more, but we are joined by TP1 and TP2. When there's more fight about taking a penalty than there maybe has been all season. We look ahead to a 6-pointer against Sligo. Or is it? All on this week's TOTAP. Hello and welcome to TOTAP Season 5, Episode 27, Episode 293 in the full TOTAP catalogue. Look, I'm contractually bound to state that we are an award-winning podcast. We are now on Patreon, can be found at patreon.com/TOTAP. It's a $5 a month flat fee. You get some content, but there is actually some interesting stuff coming up tonight for Patreon members. So don't go far, lads, because it's only about 30 seconds away, to be honest. And retweets are very important to help the pod grow. Now, we're starting this week. Unusually, I should just say, Dan is away tonight. He's not able to join us. He was expected, and this is genuine, he was expected to be working for the Cork homecoming following Sunday's game. The homecoming has been cancelled. Dan is literally missing. Nobody knows where he is or what he's up to. Presume he's just buried under a rock for the next week or so, but we hope he'll be back next Monday night. Decky is with us, the other Decky, Carey is with us, Scotty is with us, and we have a special guest, one of the stars of the 2005 league-winning team, and delighted to welcome Neal Horgan, who is here to tell us all about the anniversary night that's happening on the 2nd of August, Neal. It seems from the Forest correspondence that you've been appointed chief protagonist for rounding up the team and the players in the squad and getting everybody to Collins for the night in question.
Setter upper of the WhatsApp group, I'd say. Is it?
Well, I decided against the WhatsApp group. Actually, I'm just not a fan, really. So I directly, player liaison officer or something, contacting the players as many as I could.
You're the PLO. There's lots of Israelis listed aren't going to be happy with us.
And we've a good number going. So we're happy with, I'd say, at least 11 to 12 players, I suppose. I don't know how many staff. There's a few. I know Brian Lennox was chairman at the time. He's looking to bring some of the staff as well, I think. But happy to be involved in organising a reunion as such. And it was very good for us to kind of put it together. And the players have all been delighted that it's happening at all, you know. And it's in Collins on the 2nd of August, like you said, Dickie.
Yeah, and look, obviously we know you're going to be there. Are you in a position to drop a couple of names of other superstars who are going to be there? Or is it too early to do that?
I think I can. I can tell you who's definitely confirmed. Are the likes of Joe Gamble, Liam Carney, Billy Woods, Mick Devine, super keeper. Who else? Derek Collin, Killian Lorden, myself, Greg O'Halloran. I'm making it clear who I've forgotten now. Dan Murray, Danny Murphy said he'd go, but I know Danny's maybe travelling from England, so I'm not certain, but he did say he'd go. Who else now? So that's a good number. There's more as well. So there's a good cohort there, I suppose. John Flynn said he'd go recently. So there's more to come back as well. I know I was on to Colin T. O'Brien recently, and he's not certain because of, I suppose, obligations he has with his World Cup preparations and all that, in fairness to him. It was great to meet him. He was actually down at the Cork Academy match there at the weekend, and I was running past. I was going to the farm for a run, and I spotted him. And he hadn't got back to me, so I was giving out to him. But there's one or two like him who just need to confirm as well before the night in question, I suppose.
Just, you mentioned Colin Tino, and he's not somebody who actually gets mentioned much in when these discussions pop up. But I mean, here you have a former teammate, winner of many trophies at Cork City, now leading an Irish team to a World Cup. It's a pretty unique achievement for somebody, Neal. And it's kind of cool to say I played with him, or he was on my team.
Yeah, It's very cool, to be honest, yeah. And like, no surprise in a way, like looking at it retrospectively, like Colin was always coaching, like always. And when I came into the first team, he was a few years ahead of me, but we had a common connection. I'm trying to think what it was. I think, was it that I knew him? Did he play? He didn't play at Wilton. Like, I'm trying to think again, because I played at Wilton, Glasheen. Anyway, I knew him, and it helped me getting through. I remember him being just a good mentor, kind of helping me kind of along. And that's what I like. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that, but I can imagine that he'd just be helping fellas with their careers as they go along, and they'd be mad about him, because he knows the game inside out. He's a good guy. He's a very good guy. Anyone will tell you that. But he leaves nothing to kind of chance either. Be all over the kind of new technology and stuff like that, but without losing his senses, like. And he's done amazing. Like, I mean, this isn't the first big achievement that under his, I suppose, tutelage, the Irish underage teams. So he's someone who, like, has done fantastic. And I think he's living back in Bishopstown. That's what I was talking to him about, because he'd been out of home for a while. Maybe that was the connection. I'm losing it. He did play. He won an All-Ireland. Was it minor
football? Yeah,
minor football. Yeah, and he was the Bishopstown representative. I didn't play at Bishopstown though, so it's not that either. Yeah. I can't remember. I played the Bars, so maybe it was just a guy, something like that. I definitely knew him. I can't remember why.
Yeah. Colin, actually, like, I have a connection. Colin was 2 years ahead of me in Farren Ferris, which was a die-hard GAA school.
Yeah,
and I played on, and Colin coached the first ever Farren Ferris soccer team. Okay. Which lasted a grand total of, I think, just show you two months, I think. We played one tournament, and we were basically, there was one fella expelled, and then he wasn't expelled anymore. He was suspended because, he wouldn't go hockey training. He was going soccer training. There was all this kind of shit going on. And eventually the whole thing was just done and dusted. But yeah, that was Colin. Colin set up the first soccer team in Farren Ferris, and I played on it. So, but even then, he was only 17 then. I think I was 14, 15. And even then, like, okay, you don't think this guy's going to be a World Cup coach or what, but like, we used to say ourselves, Jesus, he's really good, like, and as I said, he was only 17, like, so fair play to him.
Like, if I suppose if anyone's in doubt about what it takes to be a coach, like, do you know what I mean? Like, you come along to this guy and you're like, all right, he's a serious operator now. And there is something to it, like, you know what I mean? And that was years ago. I remember having that view on him. He brought me out coaching it was like FEI schools when we were playing during the summer. We'd go out, and I think it was Budvent or somewhere. He brought me down to for a week. It was childminding for a week, I'll be honest with you. But in any event, the way he just presented himself, like, and his arm movements and his communication skills were always apparent, I suppose. And he's just brought it to a new level now,
And like a lot of that team, Neil, went on to become excellent coaches in their own right. Like, starting off my own personal favourite, Neil Fenn, and then you've Joe Gamble and Danny Murphy. Dan Murray's involved in the academy. Yeah. Derek Collin as well, Cairns, of course. Like, it's almost all of them. Like, Matt Nulty's coaching. It's unbelievable, really.
Billy Woods would have been assistant under Tommy for a while. And
you don't see that really. Like, could you say the same about, like, say, the Shelbourne team that won in 2004 and those guys? Like, it's unbelievable, in fairness, and so I guess a testament to the guys in the squad that you had. Colin T, to me, always came across as a guy with an old head on young shoulders, and even as me as a supporter. And then I guess you had Pat Dolan and Rico and these guys, I suppose, as well. And so,
I think you're right. It does. It's a testament to the lads we had, but also I suppose the structures have changed in a way that allows, like, obviously when I was playing, it was just a reserve team. Now you have an academy system. So currently, like, as far as where you've got Dan Murray, Liam Carney, I know Darren Murphy wasn't on that team, but Darren is involved with the club. So there's Danny Murphy has been here with the women's team, I suppose. So all of those opportunities weren't there before, I suppose, and that's one of the great things about the academy situation, that it does allow people to stay in touch with the club and that kind of know-how to be carried on and passed on a bit,
So, Neil, is this going to be a celebration night, or is it going to be a coaching conference?
I think it's going to be a reunion, and it's going to be like for people who can stomach it, nostalgia, I suppose. I did go to the Roy Keane thing recently, and I know, was it yourself, Declan Kerry? We were at the Roy Keane thing as well. I listened to one of your shows. Were you at the Roy Keane thing? No, somebody went. Maybe one of the people, Dan, who's missing. The Roy Keane in the marquee.
Dan was at it, he was covering it, yeah.
So there was a lot of nostalgia in that, and like, it's good if you're into it, Oh,
well, absolutely. I mean, that team still gets talked about. It's still revered. It's still, loved. I mean, it's. I would still argue that 2005 team is the best team to ever play League of Ireland football. No,
it's up there,
the Dubs will argue with me, etc., etc. But I think, I don't know, there was something about that team. We got to a level that I don't think any other team has got to, and I don't give a shit how many European rounds Dundalk got through. The structures of the competition had changed. You could get knocked out. Like, if the structures that are there now were there when we got knocked out of the Champions League or All European Cup, you guys would have made group stages of a conference league.
Whatever, yeah. No problem.
There's absolutely no doubt in my mind about that.
You were playing Slavia Prague in the third qualifying round of the UEFA Cup that year, sailing through third qualifying round. That was a playoff round to get into the group stages of the UEFA Cup. Or
even I don't disagree with you in some ways. Like, it has become, and it's better. Like, it's a better situation, right? Because, like, my view on it overall is, we went from a situation where, say, Cork City were playing Bayern Munich, right? And we're able to draw Bayern Munich in whatever, second round, wasn't it? They beat Cumberland Town, I think, going back. And, like, we would have had to beaten a lot more teams. We nearly played AC Milan, I suppose, and the one you're talking about, Dick, where we got to play Slavia Prague.
That was the year after when you played Red Star Belgrade, yeah. That was the Champions League.
A lot harder to get to play the big teams, right? Because of seeding, okay? So, like, as far as I'm aware, right, the seeding just became more prominent, right? And, like, there was nothing coming back the other way from the big clubs, I suppose, or whatever, whereas they've kind of looked at compensating the lower clubs now by making other routes, the Champions route and all that. So it's only fair, and I think we were a bit unlucky in that sense. But listen, we had brilliant times. I wouldn't change it for a minute. Obviously, it'd be great to play more in Europe, but we played a lot in Europe as it was. So it doesn't feel like we missed out, if that makes any sense to you.
Is the King going on the event?
Is who?
King, Georgie.
George, I've sent out messages to George. He hasn't confirmed yet. He's one of the few people who haven't confirmed. There's a few who hasn't confirmed, so hopefully he will be
7 phone numbers, so I suppose it's a scattergun approach anyway.
It'd be great if Georgie's there. I'm mad about Georgie. Georgie's a fellow who I go back a long time myself and Georgie. We're the same age group, so we're in 1979, and he was just incredibly talented at everything he put his mind to, like unbelievably talented. The only shame was when we were growing up, Colin Healy was 1980, and in our Kennedy Cup squad, for some reason to this day, I don't know, the manager didn't pick Colin Healy and did pick George and myself. I think it may have been because we were in the Premier League. There was 2 divisions in Cork Schoolboys League, and maybe fellas didn't get picked in the first division. But it meant that, say, if you're playing your best players, now it wouldn't happen today, right? So Colin and George didn't meet each other till they were on the pitch as such, playing together, till they were 28, do you know what I mean? And the 2 best fellas at my age group really, apart from a few other fellas who probably didn't see it through to that level. But anyway, George was certainly playing in hurling in the Glen, just unbelievably talented. So it'd be great if he makes it himself, and if you put the message out to who hasn't got back to me properly. Alan Bennett is yet to confirm his attendance. Even though
this is a great way to call him out now,
and there's 1 or 2 more who I won't name.
Has anyone rejected it?
So lads,
anyone said no?
The people outside of Cork, in fairness, have said they can't. Roy O'Donovan can't make it, right?
Fair enough.
He's travelling back from Australia.
It is 50,000 miles, in fairness.
Neil Fenn is struggling because he's away, and he's obviously living in Dublin, but did come back to me, in fairness to him, say he can't make it, and say,
you tell Neil I'll be there now, Huggy, and he might venture
hopeful
down.
that he will make it, but he can't. So that's it really at this point. It's a hard job. Might I say that? I've taken this burden on for Forrest. I'm doing my best.
Fair play.
Yeah, absolutely fair play. And look, it's going to be a great night. We're delighted to say that Forrest have given us 2 tickets, which we're going to raffle off. And we have bought more tickets from Forrest. So we're going to raffle off a number of tickets for Patreon members. So anybody who's a Patreon member at 5 o'clock on this coming Friday will be entered into that draw. We'll have 3 pairs of tickets, so 6 tickets to give away in that raffle. And yeah.
Another fellow can't make it, actually. Now I forget, Kevin Murray did confirm, who would have been the manager of Middleton in the, recently won, I think, 2 leagues in a row with Middleton. Kevin Murray managing them. Can't make it, unfortunately. Kevin, in fairness, didn't feature so much, and he was kind of saying that in his text back to me, but literally,
yeah, he was in the squad.
Another player to have in the squad that was unbelievable, and just coming through. We actually had an unbelievable squad. I know, Decky, just going back to it, you say that we perhaps had the best team. I actually think, just comparing with the 3 other, and I know I've probably put this out somewhere before, comparing against the 3 other teams that have won the league for Cork City, put it that way, I think it was the squad that was the thing we had. Defensively, you had Greg O'Halloran, Kevin Murray,
Killian Lorden was back up as well.
Killian Lorden, Colin O'Brien, who could all play right back, and no issues. Do you know what I mean? And our left back, most of them. Centre backs: Kevin Murray, Derek Collin, Dan Murray, Alan Bennett.
Willie Byrne
up front, Dennis Bean, Greg. Up front is just ridiculous if you think about the start of the season.
Doyle, Fenn, Flinney.
Dennis was just coming into his own.
And Roy was just signed. At the start of that season too. Yeah.
So I just honestly, I think that's where, if you were to compare it with the other 3 teams, we were ahead. I think though, 93 team, hard to be beaten. Yeah, and it's hard to compare. They wouldn't have had a squad like us. But I'm a big fan of that team. Those guys, so they would be my favourite team.
Can I just ask you one more question about that? And the final night, the night we win the league, last night of the shed, everything else. Question I always try and ask players who were on that team is, sitting in the dressing room or wherever you might be, when you find out that Jerry aren't starting Paddy McCourt, what's your initial reaction when you get that news?
Yeah, so I would have been marking him, right? So
you're delighted. Yeah.
I was thinking, geez, he's scared of me. I'm only joking. But I was happy, I suppose. Now, the only thing is, straight away in my head is Kieran Martin is playing, who's 6'2", and maybe they're targeting me for headers because I'm not the tallest guy in the world, do you know? So, I was kind of moving on to the next one, right? And the first ball, one of the first ball is they're hitting it to my corner and I have to win this header, and as if my whole life depends on it, probably. So, I suppose in retrospect then, because he comes on at the end, the thing about it, Paddy McCourt, is I didn't mind marking Paddy McCourt. I know that sounds cocky or something. I had more difficulty with other players than the guys who were kind of wavy wingers who would come. If they come back again and they go try past another, I'd catch up with them at that point. It's the fella who probably went past you and he's gone. Even, I often talk about Ollie Cahill, and I played with Ollie. Ollie was the kind of fella who, you have one chance and he's gone. If it was Paddy McCourt or, say, who was Wesley Hoolan at the time, I prefer to mark those guys, to be honest with you, because you get a second chance at them. If you miss the first one, they're probably doing another jink or they're probably knocking it. As talented as they were, and they were amazingly talented. So Paddy McCourt, I suppose overall the lads would have known how good he was, so it was probably a boost to us in a way, but for me, I suppose as someone who's about to mark him, I was just thinking about the next fellow I was marking.
Yeah. Was it a sense that, Derry didn't have to win the game, and it was almost a sense that they're not starting McCourt, so they're actually not going to try and win the game. They're happy to come down and settle in. And Georgie said this, that he felt that there was no point in the week in the build up to the game. Georgie told us that he felt you were going to lose the game or not win the game, Was that the way you saw it and the way you felt about it as well in the build up?
Yeah. I know I suppose everything is afterwards you think it all lined up perfectly, but yeah, we did feel really strong about the game. Like we felt we were going to win. Like, and like we presented that. Like Rick was brilliant. Like, in terms of managing it. Like, just getting to it, saying as little as possible. There was nothing left to be said. Like, and just leaving it. And what he said was trust yourselves, kind of thing at the end, which was perfect for me. I didn't need to hear any more. Like, but Georgie's right. Like, I think we were primed and ready, and like it would have taken a lot. Even if we gone behind or something, I just felt that night we would have turned it again. Like, we just had too much. Even the fans, like, do you know the sense when you get to a place you're like, we're not coming out of this place without it, like, you know.
Yeah,
and I think it was like
you had such, you know what I mean? You had such experience as well playing in front of huge crowds in the cross. Like, you know, 7,500 to 8,000. Like, I'm sure you'd have to ask Brian now for the official number. I'm sure he'd happily give it no at this stage, surely. Like, you know, those European games there, like against like Nijmegen and Nantes, and then the following year, like, was it Ekranis and Djurgårdens and Slavia Prague, and then the big games against Shelbourne at the cross, like you fill in the cross, and then when it got to that Derry game, you're like, oh yeah, another 7,500, no problem.
It definitely helped, like, Dickie. It definitely helped. But I would say it was different, like, because, like, and without that, you're right, like, because we had kind of, like, we had found our way, you know, to be comfortable in that environment totally, and it's a live on TV event, and that takes a bit of time. For me personally, that took a bit of time from a time when I was starting at the club, 2000, 2001, we weren't on TV, like, and suddenly we are, and we're doing really well. You kind of have to come to terms with that a little bit, and I did, right? So that by the time of the big match against Derry, but where it was different was, like, we were fully aware that this game could be the biggest game of our lives, like, and that was underneath the surface, and in truth it was, like, for most of us. If you go through that group of players, like, there's few and far between that will readily admit, at least, that they're in a game that was as important in their lives, right? There's a few, like, in fairness, there's a few, but most of us, that was it. Like, that was the biggest game of our lives. Like, and I met Dennis recently with his kids, Dennis being like, and I don't know, was I after a pint or two, because I was very complimentary. I'm always complimentary to Dennis, right? But I was particularly complimentary to him, and I said to his kids, I said, you know, your dad had played in the most important game of my life, and he was man of the match. And his kids were like, yeah, who's this guy? Like, but it was that important. Like, it was the most important game of our lives. Like, and it was exhilarating. It still is good to talk about it. Like, and that's what will be good. I think they're showing it on TV in Collins on the.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I think they are. Fairness, Brian Fitzgerald, who's been helping me organise, I've been helping them organise it, but he's been contacting me. I think that's the plan.
Very good.
To some degree.
You just mentioned him there, Neil, he was the one that pulled the ball across for Kearney to slot it on them for the second ball. So, like, the squad, he came off the bench there again, like, and just added, contributed so much in that season.
Yeah, Neil Fell pulled his hamstring, so Dennis came on, and geez, he was brilliant. In fairness, he was man of the match, and he kind of tore them asunder. So we had a squad, like, and that would just tell you, like, we had a squad that did it, like.
Why do I have a feeling as well, Neil, you're going to switch to DVD in Collins that night and put on the 1-0 home win against Shells, where you got the outside of the boot and the edge of the box?
This is it. This is the nostalgia now you have to be wary of, right? Because most people don't like this stuff. But I'm happy to talk about my goals any day you want.
Goals.
One goals. Goal. Yeah.
We'll have to do that another night, Neil, I'm afraid. Just before we let you go, we just have to ask you about the current situation, current season. Probably the biggest game, I don't know, last 2, 3, 5 years. I don't know. I don't want to put a time frame on it. Coming next Friday night. Like, what's your overview of the situation the club finds itself in, the situation the team finds itself in at the moment?
Yeah, they're in a scrap, they're in a fight, and do you know what? Like, in a sense, like, I suppose time is running out, right? But take that away from it in another sense, like, wouldn't you love as a player, like, to facing that now, and here's a target, we've almost been written off, and I think they need to get into that mindset, like, you know, and get out there and, like, just fight for their lives, like, because there are probably, some of them are fighting for their careers, maybe some aren't, but that's the mindset I'd have, you know. Like, I've watched Cork City this season and the last few seasons, and this season they have better players than they've had the last few seasons. So it's just it's funny it hasn't all worked out. I don't know, like the manager changing hasn't helped the players, right? And I'm not. This is no disrespect to the new manager. It takes him time to. It's just been unsettling. I think that part of it, for whatever reason, that the Tim Clancy had left. But I think with Nash there now, we've had the time to settle in. So now is the time to just come out with everything they have. And as if it's what we were like. No, it's difficult. I have sympathy for players. I think the one thing about when I do listen to this podcast, and to make you aware, like it's certainly not my type of podcast. If I was running a podcast, right? Because I'm not a fan in the way that you guys are fans. I'm a fan and a player, and so I often, my first thing is what's it like to be in the players. I'll always go back to being a player, and I'll always be more sympathetic to the player than perhaps a fan's podcast, if you get me, right? And that's why my podcast would be terrible, right? But but all that being said, so from a player's point of view, like like this is just you could manipulate this into being something so, I suppose, not encouraging, but just inspiring, that you say, wow, we can get out of this and we can be heroes, as
absolutely, well. Absolutely. And so it's there to be done. If they wish to do it, it's there to be done.
It is. So that's it. Like it's unfortunate we're in the situation we are. Like nobody wants to go back to the first division. Obviously Dermot Usher doesn't want to go back to the first division. None of the manager doesn't, the players don't want, the fans certainly don't want to go back to the first division. But if we have to go back to the first division, maybe that's something we have to do too, So like, it's just from a player's point of view, like you could just get together, utilize whatever you need to do to kind of galvanize yourselves and get, lads, you know what, like we can get out of this, and we can trick out, we can fool everybody and say like, oh, they think they're gone, like. That's my kind of, I suppose, as I'm a former player, that would be the mindset I'd be trying to do,
So it's a must-win on Friday. So Neil, ultimately, like, I guess,
What are they? Are they 9 points behind, lads? Sorry, I'm trying to think. Eight. Can't lose anyway, I would say. So, but it must win. Like, how many games left? 11, 12? Like, I think, like, must wins. It doesn't matter, like, so long as they finish second bottom, like, do you know what I mean? So like I don't see that happening if they lose. I think if they draw, it's going to be very hard. But if they draw, say for argument's sake, and they go on a run, like any team in this league almost who have gone on a run, you've caught teams, like, it's a funny league, like, and it's not quite too late for that. It's very, very getting to being too late, right? But you never know, like, the thing about it, and it's unusual in a way, right? There are players there who are good players who, if they just combined together and got it right and went on a run, so you can't lose hope, is what I'm trying to say to you. Now, it is what it is, right? The league table never lies. So, you have to kind of put your hands up and say they're there for a reason. Do you know what I mean? And if you're at the top of the league, you're there for a reason. So they need to get it together and ideally win on Friday. I would be slow to say it's win or bust. I don't think it's quite that, but it nearly is.
Okay, well, look, thanks a million for that, Neil. Tickets are available from the Forest website. I presume they're available from Collins. They'll be easy to find. They may not be easy to get. I'm sure they're going to sell out quickly, but the event is on the 2nd of August in Collins. Funny enough, we were messing about this. We don't actually know a start time. It hasn't been put out there, but we're going to presume it's going to be around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
7:30, 8, I'd say, is the park time, really, isn't it, for going to these things?
Yeah.
Exactly. Around 7:30. Yeah,
Well, but if anyone finishing work wants to venture in afterwards, like 5:30,
No
Thanks
problem. Very much. Pleasure.
Thanks for
coming, Andy. Appreciate your time.
Got.
Brilliant to have Neil on. Take a trip down memory lane, and there'll be more trips down that memory lane on the 2nd of August in Collins. As for us now, we still have to get on with the pod.
I'm even more depressed now than I was before, Decky.
Sorry?
I'm even more depressed than I was before. All this nostalgia.
I know, yeah. Like, this is...
It's shocking, yeah.
That's the thing,
isn't it just so depressing when they list out the players and then he even zones in on, look at the strength and depth we had at the back. Like, we had these guys, and if any four were missing, the other four could step in. And were any of us a bit worried if Derek Allin or, Killian Lord had started right back? Or no, we weren't. Like, we were like, oh yeah, grand, solid 11 this week, lads. He's right about the squad. Like, the depth in the squad was phenomenal. So that's probably what makes it the best overall squad, probably. That one.
That's why
that guy. What a keeper! What a keeper! Like,
yeah. There was just superb players right through that team. Neal himself is another guy who probably doesn't get the praise he deserves. Like, brilliant right back.
Himself and Colin T, they are probably the two unsung heroes of that team, to be honest. Because Colin T, when Gamble came in, you would have thought Colin T was going to completely miss out, but he was still an unbelievably vital player for that whole season. Like, and Dennis Bean as well. Like,
absolutely.
These guys.
And lads, do you know what? That's because squads are fucking more important than first 11s. That's why they are more important. But anyway, on we go. Let's hit the underage scene, Doc. Okay, and the under-17s lost 2-0 at home to UCD. The under-20s lost 2-1 away to UCD. And the under-14s drew 3-3 with St. Patrick's Athletic in Passage. The club also announced the new batch of youngsters who were going to line out for this year's under-13s. Players have come from such exotic places as Mallow. And then there's a few, St. Mary's, Leeds, lots of the well-known Cork schoolboy clubs represented in the new squad. Deck, this is always a big time for those young fellas, coming in to a proper academy structure. They'll all have dreams about where they're going to go and where they might end up, and hopefully the club are there to nurture them through on that journey.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing for me on it, Deck, really is I really hope now that, this whole conversation about aligning the seasons with the schoolboys league teams happens eventually, because until it does, I don't think we'll have a complete solid football pyramid in this country if you've got these different misaligned seasons, and obviously the things like the quality of the pitches, the postponed games and whatever. And I'm sure some of my old friends in the Cork Schoolboys League are listening. Hello there, if you're listening. I'm still the ORC, but just for the love of God, just please think of the children for once, and forget about, they're going to be going off on holidays in the summer, and we're going to competing with the GAA and all this. Like, if you've got that kind of small time mentality, you're never going to push on, and forget about trying to win your Kennedy Cups now and this kind of stuff. Think about the long term future of football in the country, and contribute to the players' development up until the age where they either push on and become League of Ireland academy players, or they go off and they continue their development at their local club, and they can join a League of Ireland club later if they're good enough or whatnot. That's what I eventually hope anyway happens. I'm sure it's not easy for these schoolboys leagues divisions and organisations to be dealing with the FAI either, and I'm not a big fan of maybe how the FAI tried to force this into play, and some of the threats and things like that they advise that would happen if leagues didn't align and stuff like that.
Allegedly.
So, allegedly, yeah. So I heard, apparently. I'm not all against the schoolboys league folks. They do a tremendous work developing players and coordinating the leagues, but at least just they push on for the greater good, and that's what I'll always be in favour of anyway. Because there's nothing in it for me really. I'm pretty unbiased when it comes to just seeing young players develop and find their path in the best possible, smoothest way, and not have bureaucracy and that kind of nonsense impacting them.
Why use one word when you can do 700, Declan? Fair play.
I was just thinking the same thing. You'd say, going bad, Jesus Christ almighty.
It would be a murder for it,
Can we say
I'm back, baby?
Can we just say, Wayne, on behalf of Old TOTAP, we won't be entering into any conversations about the Cork Schoolboys League. But
I'll do that any day of the week.
Declan thinks they're fans of his. Let's just say by the number of fan letters we received from them, I would imagine they're much bigger fans of ours.
Indeed. Yeah, and just for the record as well, lads, I know I mentioned the ORC there as well a while ago, but just for the, I'm just back from my holidays now, and my initials for the next couple of weeks will be TP1, the privileged one. So if you'd like to just address me by my updated nickname, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you very much.
No bother, guys. Just before we hit Commie Watch, we just want to mention the sad news that Tim McCarthy, who was a member of the club's walking football team, has passed away, and everybody in TOTAP Towers would like to offer our deepest sympathies and condolences to Tim's family and friends at this very sad time.
Yeah, I remember seeing Tim around the cross, Dick, and it's a sad situation, and condolences to all his family and his wife, and very sad, and may he rest in peace.
As always, after sad news, we do have to continue with the podcast, and what better way to go than straight into Commie Watch.
Commie Watch with Ivan Draco on the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Okay, so as people know, we do a little bit of a doc just to keep things ticking over. Whoever's hosting can just tip it over. I'm hosting tonight. I forgot to do a doc, so there was something thrown together very hurriedly. I'm just going to read the Commie Watch notes on the doc verbatim as they are written, okay? No reduction on ticket prices, no new players, no hope, fuck off.
We're not telling our listeners to F off, Dick, surely, though.
No, we're not.
Just for sheer clarification.
No.
I was sitting on a loo when I wrote that, so I was kind of in the middle of a rush, so that's kind of...
We didn't need the extra information, to be honest with you.
You need to kind of visualise this whole scenario. I mean, hammering my phone, writing this shit and wiping this shit.
I know what you were hammering on the toilet, don't you? Me.
I knew what I said that. I was like...
So, no reduction in ticket prices. Look, obviously there's the 6-match deal, but Scotty, there's nothing on a match-by-match basis. And there was a thread or a thought process that said, especially for the Sligo game, you reduce the prices, you advertise the shit out of it, and you ensure there's 5,000 or 6,000 people there. That hasn't happened, and it just seems like a missed opportunity.
Do you know what? A simple fix, right? And it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. Give the kids in for free, let the teenagers in for free, and charge the adults the same. Get people in there, bring the kids to the cross, pack it out, and just start the new generation. Because clearly, we've given up as a football club, in my opinion, because there's no new players coming in, all right? So at least pretend or show that you want to start a new, what's the word I'm looking for here now? A new...
Revolution.
Yeah, yes, a revolution. We could use a revolution. Get the kids in, get them for free. Every kid has to bring an adult with them. Yeah, the teenagers probably go in by themselves, but at least get them in and have a bit of crack and at least try and not have the players walk out to 1,600 people, plus another 5,000 season ticket holders that would be added up. You know what I mean? I just don't understand it. And this is why we are where we are, because we're not seeing I said this the very first podcast since this takeover. Build the little things right and the big things take care of themselves. The more kids you have in there, the more merchandise is purchased, the more chips that are purchased, the more money. It's just, I don't get it. I never will. And I love someone to explain it to me, but to not reduce the prices, this 5-ticket season pack, it's a lot of bollocks, right? Fair enough. It's something.
The last 6 games, yeah.
1875 to get in for, great. It's still like, charge me 25.
Up that cost.
Get my kids in for free, and they'll end up buying a scarf each, a bag of chips each, and there's 3 more people in the ground. That's the way to do it. But no, of course we don't. We have to be stubborn, stick our foot in the mud, and that's typical shit. This is why where we are, and this is why nothing's going to change for the next couple of years until this shit's sorted. Simple things, fix them, and the big things take care of themselves.
I missed the pod last week, obviously, Jensen, like when you got a chance to discuss this, and and other things like the opinion line and all that. I know I was gutted to miss it. But like I agree with Wayne. I wish there was a bit more inventiveness on it. And look, the closing date for taking up on that offer is it sometime today? Is it, or tomorrow?
It's up until Friday evening.
Like, people were obviously going to wait and see how we got on against Waterford. Like, if we beat Waterford, there might have been a handful of these sold. But like, who's really going to front up? Like what is it? 1875 times 6
by 6, whatever that is.
Like,
80 quid, 85 quid, is it?
Are you going to front that up? Like, and
no, it's not 100 quid.
If you miss one game, the discount is gone. Like, these are the people again that don't have season tickets, so they're the dippers, as they've been called. And like, are they going to be the ones then that like buy into the idea that we're in a relegation dogfight and lose to Waterford, draw at home to Sligo, and sure, geez, what's the point of going to the last few games? Like, these are the people you're targeting to entice in. So I agree with Wayne's point. They're like, I hadn't thought of that idea. Like, maybe go, look, kids for free for this game, see how it goes. They have to bring an adult. And then, as you said, Wayne, they come into the ground and they think, oh, I got in for free, so I might as well buy a programme, or I might as well buy a scarf and a beanie or something, you know?
I brought a little fella there about 5 weeks ago, I think it was, right? We went in, it was 25 quid from me, it was tenner for him. He bought a scarf, which was actually 20 quid, I think, right? He bought a programme, which is I did, a fiver, and another bag of chips for a fiver. So in total, there's 25 plus 15 plus 20 plus 5. If it was free, bring both kids in, they're both getting scarves, they're both getting bags of chips. They probably want a programme each, because if one of them has them, the other fucking one has to have them. So this is the mentality that we have to change. And it's just, I find it bizarre that we haven't done it. You know, it's just, I don't get it.
112.50, lads. That's the upfront cost for the 6 tickets. Okay. Deck, look, we'll throw this in here. Deck mentioned last week's podcast, Wade. It's actually the most listened to one we have done in 5 years.
And the only reason the other one is because it was called trafficking, and we had a lot of.
Oh yes, well, yeah. Trafficking one has just done mental numbers, but as we said, it's all the lads in Africa hoping they can learn how to traffic children or whatnot, like, you know. So,
and the one was me photoshopped as Kim Jong-un was fairly popular, I'd imagine, is it? Well, it's popular amongst ye anyway. You send it to the group chat every second week. Anyway.
Podcast created quite a stir for reasons that we never thought it was going to create a stir. You know, obviously there was opinion line stuff, which was done and dusted. What would I say? We're in ongoing contact with 96 FM, and we'll see what happens over the next few days. But we will let people know what the end result is. There still hasn't been an apology. The podcast hasn't been removed. So I think people can probably gather from that 96 FM's view on things. I got eviscerated up west. There was even a Reddit thread on it, and I'm not on Reddit, but for trying to be nice about John Russell, and what I said, which I thought was being nice about John Russell, turned into listen to the most arrogant fan base in the country who think they could just come up and take us. Listen, lads, we're from Cork, you know. Arrogance goes hand in hand. It's we don't try to hide it. We don't run away from it. We embrace it. We hug it, and we say, yes, we are arrogant bastards, you know. Not going to hide from that. But if there are people in Sligo who deep down believe that we couldn't take anybody or anything we wanted out of Sligo, then, you know, look, it's something they're going to have to reassess pretty quickly. The other thing they should be aware of is John Russell is quickly on everybody's radar, and the day is coming, probably much quicker than people in Sligo realise, where John Russell won't be manager of Sligo Rovers. And that's going to be a massive turning point for that football club. They're a football club I admire an awful lot. You know, they're outside of Cork City. They would be probably my favourite club in the country because of how they do things and the way they do it. But there's a day coming where John Russell, who has been absolutely brilliant for them this is his 3rd season, will not be at Sligo Rovers any longer. I don't think he'll be there this time next year. So everybody's right, and listen, there's nothing I can say to stop people laughing at Cork City at the moment. We deserve to be mocked. We deserve to be laughed at. It's where we are. But just be careful, because the wheel is always turning, and it's always going to keep turning. And I'm sure this will be snipped and it'll be running through the WhatsApp groups in the west of the country again. And I hope it is. And lads, make the Reddit threads, keep the WhatsApp groups going. As we always say, we don't care. We're from Cork and we are better than you. And that's what it all boils down to at the end of the day. We might not be better now. Long term we will be. No new players, Deck. Like, has the club given up? Are we...
Yes.
It's an interesting one. Like I got asked this question on X last week. At what point should the club, not sign any more players in this window and say, you know what, let's save money for 2026. I would hope that doesn't have to happen, because there's been quotes recently saying like money is no object kind of thing, and to that effect. And and as Neil said earlier when he was on, like, until it's mathematically impossible, and the window is still open for another nine odd days, probably 7 days by the time this pod is released.
Free agent window is open for a month after that.
Yeah.
Lads. Come on, like, am I kind of DeLorean again 2 years back? Like, what are you talking about? We get a player in now, right? He's not fit, right?
Of course.
We're due 3 players in. We got one, and don't tell me that Brodie Lee was one of them, because he's basically a youth player who's just David Dunn, basically. He swapped for David Dunn. That's what he's done.
And
we got
Callum Honahan as well is left as well.
Callum Honahan's gone.
We might have to replace him. Yeah.
The thing is
that was always on the cards, wasn't
it? I said last week I understand not signing players. I didn't expect it to happen. Like, why do people still have hope here? Like, how do you get this little? Even Neil earlier, like, and you're kind of going, "Oh, it's like it is over." Like,
I don't have hope, Wayne. To be honest, I'm more just giving what is the different perspectives.
If we turn around and batter Sligo with 3-0, right? Fair enough. We have a bit of hope. We beat them. We're 5 points. There's no way we can catch. I just don't see it. Like, misfits.
But if you don't have hope, Wayne, what have you? There's just like
acceptance.
We're clinging on by our fingernails. Like.
So why would it, when we're all Cork City fans here at the end of the day, right? So what if there's no hope? What would bring someone out to Turner's Cross on Friday night, or even beyond that?
Changing the direction the football club is being run. Change it. Have a new plan. Revolution. Change the whole thing. Rip it out and start again, and start immediately. You
never know. Accept that, like, you know what?
But we've signed one player. We signed how many? 4 in total.
I mean, publicly and like transparently.
4 or 5 have left. Have 5 left? So like we've done nothing. Like,
yeah, that's my worry, is that like with Feely, Kelleher, and Lutz coming in and keeping on.
Feely, Kelleher are an upgrade, 100%, right? Odamusu, not sure. I fancy Truth. I thought he's a great keeper, right? Lutz up front, replacing Daniels. Decky's always said it. He's a future player. He's the kind of player I'm saying we should be bringing in for next season.
Great penalty taker.
Great penalty taker indeed.
Come here, but like Lutz replacing Daniels. De Janeiro's gone to Kilmarnock, to the Scottish Premier Division. Lutz came out of, I don't know, was it Barrow or non-league, having been at Aston Villa underage. There's no comparison in the two players. And like, I know, like, I don't want to do it again, but we're weaker now than we were when the window opened.
Yeah.
Sligo are much stronger than they were when the window opened. And that's the difference. And look, I don't know if either of you listened to Aina on the Rappers podcast this week. You know, I felt like I had to, just to hear what was said. And look, everybody has a huge amount of respect for Aina. You can listen to that podcast and he gets it. He knows. Like, he knows where people are coming from. He's been us. He's worked for the club for 19 years. He was a fan before that. He understands it. He knows what's driving people and what's making them angry and everything else. But there was no commitment to bringing players in. There was talk of the transfer committee, and Damien Delaney does this. He's the football counterbalance to the manager, and Aina does the paperwork, and Dermot does the financial side of things. Like, it's just like it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. Damien Delaney knows nothing about what it takes to be a League of Ireland footballer. We're not signing Premier League footballers. It's a completely different set of skills and mindset needed to be a good League of Ireland player. So when Damien's the counterbalance to what the manager wants, Dermot does the financials, and there's lines around that. Oh, like Scotty mentioned, money's not an issue, and that was the headline in the Examiner. I think it was the Examiner, or was it a Mirror? I don't know, whichever one of them it was. And we've never stopped the manager signing a player unless it can't be financially done or whatnot. But and I meant to mention this a few times. I believe we had a centre back signed from the Munster, or not the Munster Senior League, Major League Soccer. Sorry, the MLS is different to the MSL. We had a deal done for a player, a centre back, I think 31, 32, something like that, and he was going to be the senior centre back. Charlie Lyons was going to be the second centre back, and young Anderson was going to be the centre back on the bench, and that's the way it was going to be. But this lad was married. And the only accommodation we were willing to offer him, for him and his wife, was a room in a house share with 3 or 4 other players. And it's not going to work for a married couple, for a married man. And he was told if he wanted anything outside of that, then he had to get his own accommodation. But the wage we were paying him, do you know what I mean? He couldn't, it's not going to work.
Who was it?
So I don't have a name. I never had a name. All I know is that he played over 100 games in.
Was he Irish?
No, I presume he was American. I don't have the details, I'll be honest with you. I don't. All I know is I've heard this 3 or 4 times going back ages that this guy was coming. But so it's grand to say budgets and thing. Sometimes you have to do more about accommodation. Sometimes you have to do more about helping players to settle and all that. And all these things come into it. And we weren't willing to do it. So therefore, Charlie Lyons is filling a role he wasn't meant to fill. Anderson is filling a role he wasn't meant to fill. And I just keep going back to this, and just whole setup, it just doesn't fucking work. It hasn't worked for 2 years. It's easy to do it in the first division. We can put a squad together next year to win the first division between the 3 of us, no bother whatsoever. It's when you get to the and it's failed, and it's failed miserably. And I don't know, they persist with it, and Damien Delaney seems to have a massive role out there, and I don't know, I just don't get it, I don't understand it. But anyway,
it's this is, I completely get what you're saying. Look, and that is not to zone in on that one example of that one player, because players for various reasons maybe didn't join the club, but it seems like a fairly good example of things I've heard as well, where TP1 here now. And can we put in the misinformation jingle as well, the Chris Tarrant one?
Attention listener. If you believe that you are the victim of myths and misinformation, in this episode of the multi-international winning pod called the Other Three Amigos podcast, also known as TOTAP, then please know you can contact us in confidence 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at pod@totap.ie. Again, that's pod@totap.ie. And now, on with the episode.
But this is what we as in Forest gave up the club for. In essence, and I mentioned it a couple of podcasts ago, this is maybe a month or 2 back now, about I think the approach was not the right one to take in terms of, just in my opinion, of how we needed to fund the squad for the first 2 or 3 years of this new regime. We seem to be still operating in the Forest model in a lot of ways, strict budgets and not making these kind of grey area decisions where a bit of extra cash will just get something over the line. And I mentioned before, there shouldn't be any Cork-born player playing in the League of Ireland that's not playing for Cork City. And look, Josh Honahan, fair enough. Adam O'Reilly, these guys. Sometimes individuals are going to struggle to get some of them to stay. Josh, obviously, I think had just aspirations anyway, and we got relegated that year and blah, blah, blah. But those are the types of things where the example you just gave, that we just needed to kind of throw the money at it, get it over the line, job done, you know. And then go for the sustainability angle in later years. Like, get us solidified in the Premier Division. We had our year in the First Division, as Neal Horgan mentioned earlier. Maybe that's something we need to do. That was probably an okay thing to say at the end of the 2023 season. It's not now. Like, we don't want another year in the First Division to reset, get things sorted, and then plan ahead with a new 3-year plan. No one wants that. Like, we want to stay in the Premier Division, solidify ourselves, get ourselves up to mid-table, challenge for Europe, and then eventually build the coffers that way, build the interest, grow the fan base the way all the other League of Ireland clubs have done for the last 4 or 5 years. And then you're into the sustainability kind of conversation of like only partial funding of the club at ownership level. But like, that's what Forrest gave the club up for us, because we didn't want to be living with this situation where we lose players for pittance. We can't sign players because of awkward accommodation issues, and we've got managers living with players, and we've got, as you just described there, asking a player and his wife to move in with other lads. Like, you might as well just tell the fella, we don't want to sign you if you propose something as ludicrous as that. Like, I don't know.
There's scenarios here as well. I'm just sitting here thinking about things, right? Okay, but the Colin O'Sullivan scenario, right, where at the moment it looks like he's not going to move this window. He's out of contract in November, and everybody goes, well, we get the compensation payment anyway, which I believe is around 290,000, 300, somewhere around that mark.
Not necessarily.
What? Hang on now. What if in a nightmare scenario, Cahill signs for Derry City or St. Pat's or Shamrock Rovers, which he can do. He's out of contract, and the compensation would be what, 20, 25 grand max.
Oh, yeah, 5 figures, low 5 figures. Yeah.
So what happens then?
Yeah, it's happened.
They could do with Josh on it, and he could sign for Shamrock or St. Pat's.
And please don't people listen to this and say, I am not saying, I'm just using it as an example of
You're right.
how things can go horribly, horribly wrong very quickly. I'm not saying that Cahill is doing that. I'm not saying he's thinking about doing that.
No.
Please, I'm just giving an example of
2 players did
nightmare scenarios.
Joining and Ogbene did it. And there's been players in the past who have been offered
and
that.
Josh Honan did it. Like, Callum. He went to Shamrock Rovers, and obviously he's got a good advisors, and like, at the end of the day, like, none of these players in the squad are City till they die. Like, they're not. Name one.
Very few, and that's no offense now to Greg Bolger and some of these guys.
Yeah. That's no offence. No, that's not me calling out the likes of Greg Bolger and these guys who are, won medals for the club and they're great servants to the club and they had great success, and Shawnee and whatever, but they're not City till they die, and, they'll go wherever the best offer for them is and the best circumstances, and they'll go there at the drop of a hat. And unless it suits them.
But we can't blame players. We have to look at ourselves and realise that there's something wrong, that we're doing wrong. And like, this thing about Callum, the tweet about we signed him a contract but he rejected it. Well, why did he reject it? What's the reasons we've one of the best academies in Ireland? Is it because we weren't playing him?
We probably offered him low money for a start off win. Sorry, misinformation, disclaimer, TP1.
2 years ago. Get in early. Like, it's just a simple again, small building blocks, and the big ones fix themselves.
In my opinion, we probably made him a pretty low offer in line with what the club's like academy pro-contract policy is. We wouldn't deviate much from that. He might have wanted a buyout clause. We don't want to put clauses in anymore, as we publicly said. I'm only hypothesizing here and guessing. Like that, and then and look, obviously his brother and whatever is in this, having great success at Shamrock, and he's on his way to the UK more than likely sooner rather than later.
Yeah, but again, it's Cork lads leaving Cork to go play League of Ireland football elsewhere, and
it's happening at a younger age now, which is the worrying part. Like,
yeah. Now, to be fair, we brought Brody Lee the other way, young lad from Tipperary, so we have to acknowledge that as well. We're going to have to move on. We've done no reduction on tickets, no new players, no hope. I'm going to leave the fuck off and sit there for another week and see what happens. very quickly, guys, we just want to take a look at the Cup game last Saturday, 12 o'clock kickoff. Less than 900 people there. I can't remember. It was 893 or something.
897 was the official confirmed attendance. Now, that was probably, it's the actual butts and seats was probably closer to the mark for that game because season ticket holders are not entitled to enter that game for free. And,
Okay.
you know, but
while you're here, can you very quickly, and Dec, I mean quickly, not 20 minutes now, sum up, because basically you were called out in the Forest, the meeting between the club and the Forest, you were basically called out for putting out misinformation about attendance figures. I tried to explain for you last week, but can you just do it in your own words in about 30 seconds, please?
Well, I first started getting involved at the club, lads, in 2003. Look, at the end of the day, Dec, in my opinion, my perspective, the number that's called out on the PA, and I was chairman now for close to 5 years or whatever. The number that's called out over the PA is the number of tickets distributed, sold, issued. That includes tickets that are included as part of player sponsorship packages, season tickets, comps that we give out for various reasons. If a ticket has been printed and issued, that's the number that we call out as the attendance figure. And there's a variety of reasons for that. Obviously, the main one people are thinking is, it makes us look better, which is fine. But obviously, as well, there's you can't let in more people than the allowable, fire regulations and safety regulations, etc. So, you can't. There's always that risk that if you issue X number of tickets and you oversell, you can't run that risk, unfortunately, especially for the bigger games, which we haven't had many of in recent times. But look, that's just the way it is. It's not that we're inflating attendance figures artificially or whatever. It's all clubs all over the world do this. So I was a bit perplexed to read that in the Forest updates that went out. And look, a new star is born. TP1 is here. The ORC has gone on vacation for a while, and I'm here to stay.
Oh good God, what have the club done to us? They've unleashed this TP1 fucking shit load. It's thanks guys, we appreciate it, right, Cork City 3, Leicester Celtic 0. Lads, it was tough watching. Tough watching. I saw the first half live, as I said last week, with my daughter's birthday party, 1:15, so I had to pack it in at half time. As I said, that first half is not one that will live in the memory for any length of time at all, Scotty.
He just dropped off.
All right, okay.
While he's gone, I'll just say, up until Sunday, I would have probably thought it was the worst half any Cork team had produced in a very long time. Until Sunday at 5 p.m, I changed my mind. But yeah, I know Wayne seems to have some networking issues there, so I didn't watch the game. Unfortunately, I was on a plane as the game was taking place. But when I did lose coverage and the plane just took off, we were still 0-0 at 30 minutes. And then when we landed, I looked at the timeline of when the goal came, and I just assumed the worst. I was like, we must have been rubbish for the first half. Did Leicester Celtic just tire then, maybe after the hour mark, playing a fully professional team? And did they have a wedding or something? Their season finished as well a couple of weeks ago, so they're not up to scratch. And that was the worst. I just assumed the worst. So I don't have a lot of thoughts on how the game went. I presume we had chances and stuff, but to not score until, the 67th minute, and it to come from a penalty, and then the shenanigans afterwards with the penalty. What in the name of Mother of Jesus? And again, Sunday I was up in Dublin at Croke Park, and all people could say to me was, what happened up in Waterford there last week with the City fans, which was the rubbish that was on the opinion line. And two, I saw the video there in the empty stadium of two Cork City players arguing, and one having to be consoled after he didn't get to take the penalty kick. And the captain of the team had to put his arm around him, even as the players were running off and celebrating. And Joe, the other thing that absolutely annoyed me as well, as Lutz was running in to take the penalty, the player in question stood there flat-footed, had no intentions of following up for a rebound or anything like that, which is absolutely unforgivable for me. So, just shambolic into the next round as we expected, but like in the worst possible way, you could ask me.
To be fair, Scott, we have to say we don't know what the setup was. We don't know, was Evan McLaughlin the designated penalty taker? Was Charlie Lutz designated? It looked like there wasn't a designated penalty taker. That's what it looked like watching on. But you can't, having players fighting over a penalty is one of the worst looks in football.
7-year-olds do that, and they sulk at the end of the game, and the manager or their dad or mum or guardian has a word with them, and that should be the end of it. 7-year-olds. If I have a 12-year-old nephew there and he plays for Mary's, and if I found out he did that or something like that, I'd be like, come on now, you're going to secondary school. Like, in all fairness.
Yeah, Scott, what was your take on it?
Yeah, it's disappointing. I just don't understand how there's not a designated penalty taker. We've had 5 penalties recently and 5 different takers.
It's probably Shawnee, and then I know McLaughlin was taking them last year in the first division, wasn't he? So,
you've a list of 5 players. You've a list of 5 players. What happened to the penalty shootout? Do we have a clue who's taking penalties? You need to have 5 players. You have your main one, your second one. A captain should probably take one, and you just have a list. Do you practice these? It's just mad. Me being a manager, I would have chosen Lutz as well because he's a striker, needs a goal. But he should have been assigned penalty taker before the game. And no one would have convinced me he was, because the way they acted, nobody knew what was going on. And this is the worry. Again,
someone said to me, is he on a goal bonus or something? And he must be on a goal bonus. And I was like, goal bonus? Stop now.
It's just the whole game was I said to you in the game, I actually had to watch the first half back because I forgot it was on. I had it on at 11:15 and channel was changed, forgot all about it. And halfway through I was like, shit, the game is on. So I put it back on. I wish I didn't watch the first. It's just, it was a complete shit show. That's all you can say.
I wish we had Neal Horgan on now, because he said he'd give the answer from the player's perspective, and it'd be a great one to ask him about that.
He said something earlier, and he said against Derry, he had to get the first header, and he said it was life or death for him. Basically, he had to make the first header. If we had our players like that, and no one's going to convince me and say they're like that, because they're not. All right, a few of them could be. I could be, misjudging them, but as a collective, as a team, not counting individuals, we don't have that heart, and this is why I have no hope. Because I've seen this club. 1991 was my first proper game. 87 was my first game against Spurs. I haven't seen a team, even 2023. You had Bagsy, who tried his heart out. Even King Coleman, you had them all. They were really getting stuck in, trying, and quality wasn't there. These lads have the quality, and it's just, there's no excuse to being 0-0 after 70 minutes. Yes, I know you get cup upsets. This is the League of Ireland. It happens in England with first or championship teams and conference teams because it's big crowds. There was fucking nobody there. This lads had a wedding the night before. Come on. And people wonder why you have no hope. This is why I have no hope.
Yeah, it was a poor performance. Look, 3-0, and I'm sure Ger will say in the press conference this week, they're in the next round. It was grand, good confidence builder, won the game, etc., etc. But there was a lot about the performance that left a lot to be desired. Just
can I say one last thing, right? People are constantly going on about negativity in this pod. Negativity. Why can't I say something positive? How do we say something positive? What do we say? Do we make stuff up and give misinformation? Great performance. We won 3-0. I just don't get how certain people listening to this are going to go, oh, they're moaning again. They're giving out again. What do you expect? Give us a reason to be fucking positive.
That's what annoys me. It ruins
my week. It ruins my day. It ruins my weekend again. And it's just, what are you doing? Just cop on.
When we used to, it wasn't me at the time. I'm still in the collective we of TOTAP, though I know these days. But I remember back in remember the Sunshine Lollipops jingle? That was played plenty of times when there was, it's just that things are so negative at the moment. It's just non-stop, painful experiences as a supporter. And that's what annoyed me as well about these minutes from the Forest meeting. It's like almost, we set up shop here at 7:30 every Monday evening, and it's what are we going to attack them on this week, lads? I can attest to 100% absolute fact that's never been the case. Like, actually, as professional as this podcast sounds, there's actually very little preparation goes into it, to be brutally honest. Like, and like, it's like, come on, like, and we're all come from very balanced, different backgrounds as City fans. But I think the one thing we all have in common is we get it, and
we care too much, I think, and this is the problem.
Yeah.
I wish I'd had this Liverpool United thing. I don't. It's this fucking club that wrecks my head for the last 6 years.
Yeah, I was chatting to my brother today actually about that Leeds and AC Milan game in the Aviva in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to that. But like, I was absolutely gutted yesterday when Cork lost. Like, I mean, drove home, barely talk the whole way home to my family and whatever. Like, I don't care if Leeds lose 3-0 to AC Milan up in the Aviva or whatever. Like, I won't be getting even as half as animated or as vocal as I'm even getting on this podcast about how we'll carry on. It's just like, come on, like.
Mailbag?
We'll go for a break first.
I think we need it.
Yeah. TOTAPers, take a listen to this and rejoin us in about 90 seconds or so.
Hey listeners, whether you're running a fan site, leading a local club, or building a global community of die-hard supporters, there's one tool that can take your forum to the next level: Envision Community. Envision Community is the leading forum software trusted by thousands of communities worldwide. From lively debates to match-day banter, tactical breakdowns to transfer gossip, their platform is built to handle it all. Got a football forum? Whether it's League of Ireland passion, grassroots chatter, or international footy fever, Envision gives you the tools to build a thriving, interactive space for your fellow fans. And it's not just for sports. Envision powers forums of all kinds: tech, lifestyle, gaming, education, you name it. With powerful moderation tools, custom themes, and seamless integrations, it's never been easier to create a space your community will love. So if you're ready to upgrade your forum game, head to envisioncommunity.com. That's envisioncommunity.com, and start building something brilliant today.
Right, folks.
The scene of the 2E, you know the way you watch like a news broadcast, right? And they have the behind the scenes, and then when it cuts to the ads, the lads just sit back and they get on their phones. They're just completely zoned out of what they're doing. It's literally at the stage we're at here now, like.
Because I'm hosting, I'm getting the mailbag. I'm trying to keep myself up to date, you know.
I was getting the Patreon questions into the doc, and I was doing a few other prep work.
See, Scott, you owe us an apology. You owe the fan base an apology, Scott. You owe the fan.
Man, you're in
as a journalist, are you going to step up and apologise, though? That's the question.
I'm not a journalist, lads.
You are in a privileged position, though, Wayne.
Yeah.
Look, actually, can I change mine to Wayne TP2?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Postman Pat, and in black and white cat.
The cat mix race.
Early in the morning, one bag of man is yawning. Him pick up all of the post bag in him hand.
A real bad man.
Blast from the past, it's always welcome.
Cheer us up, hey, positivity.
The old Russian version was always the one.
I accidentally clicked that one, but
that's
we'll
right.
keep it in.
It works. Okay, the mailbag, Patreon comments or questions, I should say. One here from Richie. It's actually for me now that I look at it. Has Decky invited the manager for weekly pints yet? We haven't won a league game since Decky stopped meeting the manager for a pint.
You must have met Matt Nash before the Leicester Celtic game, Dick, did you?
Look, I don't know what to say, Rich. Like, I mean, the chances of anybody at Cork City sitting down for any kind of a drink with me are less than zero now at this stage, I'd say, you know. But look,
I don't think Nash is a pint man. I'd say he's a coffee man. Whereas you could see Tim Clancy down in 5 or 6 pints again.
We know he's not a points man anyway, because what's he got? 2 since he's 8 games. So.
Pretty sure you used that joke before. I'm pretty sure you did.
You need to say it with a D4 accent, though.
Yeah,
it sounds better. Points with the lads.
Go for a bagel and a latte.
Okay, here's one from Billy Dorney. Genuine question, which kind of suggests that Billy has sent us questions that weren't genuine before, but look, we'll run with this anyway, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think Shawnee will be gone as soon as we get relegated? I do. And better than that, if he stays in the League of Ireland, I can see him joining Johnny C's Galway United. Hope he takes most of the fucking squad with it.
Good man, Billy.
Oh dear.
Okay, the Shawnee question. Like, to my mind, to my eye at the moment, Shawnee's not fit. He's just not fit. He's probably working about 60-70%, I think. He wasn't in the squad for the Leicester Celtic game. Very understandable. He was taken off after 65 minutes in Waterford. The game before that, he was taken off around the same mark again. As I said, to me, he just doesn't look like he's fit. We know he has the hamstring injuries and everything else. So, like, we've one senior striker, we've Charlie Lutz, and to my eye, the senior striker isn't fit. Does Shawnee go if we get relegated? I think that's a question the club and Shawnee will have to figure out. I would imagine that he probably does. I don't think the club would carry his wage in the first division. And I would imagine that Galway would be the most likely destination as well. Scotty has his hand in the air there, Scott.
Who would you choose, Keats or Maguire? You have to pick one to keep.
That's just a hard question to answer because, like, taking money out of it, Wayne, and that kind of consideration, and assuming we'll be in the first division next year. Is that your question?
Yeah, basically.
It's hard because, like, Keating has had a pretty debilitating injury now as well. And do we know what he's going to be like when he comes back? And God, Rory, if you're listening to this, like, I hope you come back, and I think you will come back stronger.
I think it's an easy answer. I think it's Keats all day long.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of getting to be honest. But
I think it is. But then again, do you think Shawnee's going to go up to Galway 3 times a week training and drive it up and down?
I think he'd move up there, no problem.
I don't think he would. I think he'd better chance of going to Waterford. If they wanted him, of course, Galway offer the money. But do you want to be driving up and down? Don't know.
You'd wonder if his season peters out for him the way it seems like it is. If he's not able to get the time to recover back to full fitness, and will Galway even want him?
Yeah, they would. Johnny C will want him. He 100% will.
But like,
they even want him this window.
He wants the Shawnee.
Hang on.
2017.
What did you say there?
Said maybe even wants him this window.
Are you sure that maybe he was there the first time?
Just a throwaway. Yeah. Just a throwaway comment. I wouldn't read into it.
Anyway, Fabrizio, on to the next question.
Yeah, What Summer asks, are we the most toxic supporters in the League of Ireland?
Yes.
But, you see...
Yes.
You're taking it, like I said this last week, you're taking it at a moment in time.
No,
but you put St. Pat's, Scott. Give St. Pat's the last 6 years that we've had. Give Shamrock Rovers the 6.
Shells.
Put them back to being, put Shams back on the road again. They don't have a home ground. They're wandering around Dublin. They're playing home games in Cork. They're going to be fairly toxic. Like, it's not just one game or one season.
We've always had that self-destruct button on the keyboard, on the door, on the pitch, since the dawn of Cork City Football Club. We've always had that self-destruct button that we're willing to push and we're dying to push. It's like that. What's that thing? You know, when you're trying to jump off a bloody bridge. What's the call of? What's it called? You have the urge to do something. No, it's the call of. Let me Google it. There's a word. You keep talking there, and I'll find what this is called of. The call of void, that's what it's called. The ability to want to destruct everything, but you don't, it happens all the time.
I agree with Deck in the sense that, like, all clubs have all of the different variety of supporters that we have. Like, there's a spectrum of supporters that I think, even looking at the other clubs from what I see online and reading their forums and seeing at games when I go to away games and such, they have the same types of fans that we have. You've your sound lads, you've your older heads, you've your ultras, you've your casuals as they're called or whatever. You've your community sections, Like, you have your sections that get extremely vocal and angry when things aren't going right. I think, I'd say they're more or less the same. But that's just my own balanced thought on it.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. John Magner asks, about the transfer committee, listening to the Rebel Army pod and they named who was on it. Should there be more spotlight on Damien Delaney? His contacts obviously are shite with the level of player brought in. And the last thing what was said is very interesting, that the manager is extremely tied in terms of the players brought in, as Usher has final call, as he does not want to go over budget. A number of times it was said, we don't go over budget. So, John's actually followed up. Look, we'll deal with that first. So, listen, Damien Delaney did the Rappers pod 12 months ago, 18 months ago. He spoke a lot about not going over budget. Not going over budget was something Aina referenced. No, to be fair to him, he said they're willing to go over budget if a certain player becomes available, sometimes like that. But it's clear we're a club that have a budget and we don't really want to go over it. But that doesn't really fall at Damien Delaney's feet, though, Scotty, does it?
No, it doesn't. I thought money wasn't an option, or money wasn't an object.
Wasn't a problem.
Problem, that's the word I was looking for. I'm getting tired now, lad, sorry.
Money's no object.
That's what he said, yeah.
Well, look.
So we do or we don't. There's contradictions there in the space of a week. So money isn't a problem, but we have a budget. So which is it, like? Make up your mind.
John then follows up. One more thing on that other pod. They went on about how the fans have a part to play and that negativity seeps into the players. Would they ever shut up, like? The fans give them more than enough time and back that team with no return. We've a right to be fed up with the way things are going. It's hard to argue with that, really, like, isn't it?
He's right, yeah. Yeah.
Philly pops in then as well. Scotty, I'll go to you with this. What would you have done different at the start of the season to not put City in the position they are now in?
There's lots of stuff. There's plenty. Like, stop pissing off the fans, first of all, so the fans don't get on the manager's back too quickly. And actually get a proper scouting network. Didn't Clancy say he had to drive down the country himself to scout players? Simple. Again, little things, build them together and you build a house. There's so much to go into. Like, you could start back in 2023 here.
But is the simple answer here not simply put together a decent squad?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But who's at fault there? You can blame Clancy for that then, like, but is the budget there enough? Like,
but can you? Like,
everyone's to blame. There's Clancy's to blame, Nash is to blame, the transfer committee is to blame, Dermot Rush is to blame. They're all to blame together equally. No one can be going, oh, it's his fault. It's everyone's fault that we're in this position.
I agree. I agree.
But I think there's certain things you have to fix. I think now what we need is a plan. I know this 3 or 5 year plan. We have to have a specific way of where we want to go with this football club and not just doing the same thing for a third time. We can't do that. We can't do that.
But like, I wonder, does it get boring for people listening to this podcast in a way? Because we seem to just say the same things week in, week out. I like try to have different conversations and take things down different roads, but inevitably you're just coming back to the same spot the whole time.
Let me tell you now, right? I'll tell you exactly where the issue starts. We were getting promoted back in July. This time last year, we were getting promoted. We had 6 months to plan. Yet we didn't have the players in until later than we should have. We were picking and choosing these lads on loan, and they were in late December, January, February. They should have been signed in early, and there is number one issue. Number two issue is upping the prices up by 75%. They should have gone to €20. Yeah, you know the numbers. You don't really, because the crowds are shit. Okay, 20 quid. Keep the kids at a fiver and maybe 15 max for the mid. That's point 2 would have done. Point 3 is getting more coaches in. More strength and conditioning, more scout networks, more coaches. There's 3 fundamental issues we're really screwed up on again. And we're going to do it again next. I've no doubt we'll do it again next year. Nothing I see is showing me we're changing or learning. Because we're fucking, how many days in? We're 21 days into the transfer window. And we've less players than we did before it opened.
It is hard to believe that the squad is is numbers wise less and probably quality wise is less than what it was on the opening day of the transfer window. I mean, it blows your mind, really, you know. Couple here.
I'm getting annoyed now, so I'm going to mute for a while.
Yeah, couple from last week, or it's not last week's. Couple from Twitter. I'm not saying it's Dermot's fault, but the fact is our time in the Premier Division under him has been woeful. But if he's not the problem, then what is? And if we know the problem, what is the solution?
It's from Connor K100. Yeah. Look, I guess to answer the question, like, look, he is the single largest shareholder of the club and has been for the last couple of years. So look, ultimately, things do fall back to him, and he is the ultimate one accountable for everything that happens at the club. You know, there's only very few things that are not within his control to either learn from, fix, resolve, fund, etc. So like at the end of the day, yeah, I guess so. Like, but you know, we've said it continuously on this podcast, like the solution to helping fix Cork City FC, part of that is keeping Dermot there and, you know, learning from the mistakes of the last couple of years and pushing us on and doing the things that, you know, the Forest membership expected when the club was given up to Dermot. And like, that's ultimately, I think, all we expect. And if we did that, then I think we'd be in a much stronger position. But look, it's it's a tough pill to swallow and a tough couple of years, Connor. So, yeah, not sure what you think, lads. Okay.
Ian Crowley asks, how is it that with such a good academy as we have, that we have no permanent base for them? Can I answer this? Or can I say something on this, right? Because I listened to Aina on the Rappers pod the other day, and the whole training base thing came up. And Aina said something that really caught my ear, in that it's taken longer than they had expected, but there's a number of other parties. It was something like that anyway, a number of other parties, or there's other parties involved, but they're hoping that they'll be able to make an announcement shortly. Now, when the FAI pulled funding for Glanmire, the story around was that the FAI and UCC were doing something around a training base. So that FAI base in Glanmire was basically an FAI Centre of Excellence, if I remember correctly, Dec, you know. And at the FAI, we're going to do that Centre of Excellence with UCC. There was going to be kind of a joint thing which would allow grants to be pulled down from the education sector, from the EU. You know, there'd be bits and pieces for everybody. I've been convinced for a long time. I know the Mayfield thing was around for a bit and it didn't happen. But I think it's inevitable we end up as part of that project. And I think when Aina said things about other parties and other parties involved and whatnot, I just took that as it has to be the UCC FAI thing, and that's where we will end up. Don't know whether I'll be right or wrong, but it's just me reading between the lines, you know. So
yeah,
don't know what timelines on that are.
Yeah, I'd go with that as well. I think there was talks of that UCC project, like, I think is the one that gives us most potential opportunity. And, you know, obviously that UCC relationship was one that was fostered in the Forest days and something the club is still benefiting from to this day. Like, so, you know, hopefully it bears fruits. And there's a lot of great people involved in UCC that are long-term supporters of the club, and it'd be great if they could do something for us. And the work that Forest did to help foster that relationship shouldn't be forgotten.
Scotty, there's another one here, and I'm going to pack it in then. CI2023 says, I know you've been very clear that you want Dermot to stay. Do any of you think he will actually learn lessons this time round? We've heard it all before.
For me, no, I don't think so, no. But look, it's not my club. I don't own it. It is my club, but I don't own it. So look, if we haven't learned by now, I can't see us learning again. I think we'll just win the division next year and go down again.
Okay. last one. Our friend James Sheridan is back. Presuming the tears from last week's pod have dried up at this stage, are yous going to get behind the team and the club for the remainder of the season, or continue finding something to moan about? They may not do things your way, but it's still the club yous support regardless. I'm just going to stick my thumb in here for a second, right? This podcast and this fan base, not alone this podcast, have given this team everything this year. Like, they have far more, it could be argued, than what the team and the club deserves. And I spoke about Waterford, and I spoke about the half an hour before Waterford, before the game started. I spoke about the first half, up to 60 minutes. And then, of course, it starts to wear on you. Then, of course, it stands, and this is what I'm talking about. Other fan bases telling Cork City supporters how they should act. This is year 6 of a downward spiral for this club. Some fans know nothing else other than downward spirals. So, as I said, some people like James want to look at things in isolation of one match or one season. That's not the way to look at it. And this is actually something Aina referenced as well. This is a result of a number of years. But, it's hard to explain that to people who don't understand what's going on, And
Dick, like the start of the year, I predicted we'd finish 6th or something, I think, if you go back and listen to my first episode. We bloody have a jingle about Mbeng and tried to turn him into a cult hero. Benny Couto, the same. Hyped him up and tried to... looking back now, we were true supporters in the sense of we were excited about these guys coming in, and we tried to big them up, give them confidence, support them like fans do. It's like, in the older days, we would have made up a chant about them in the shed or whatever. Now we're, giving them a jingle on the most popular podcast in the league. And, I never accept that TOTAP is just out there to get the club and is not a supporter. And I'll just finish before I hand over to Wayne. I know who you are, James. The ORC TP1 knows everything.
Just on all these points, there's a certain circle of people who listen to this who, no matter what we say, just want to have a go, which is fine. It's their entitlement. Thanks for listening. So we'll never be able to change our minds. So no matter how pro-club we are, they'll always find a spin to make it sound like we're not saying positive things. So fine. Look, have your opinion. That's fine. I had a good chat with him last week. Safe to say we do have an idea who he is. So.
Okay, fair enough.
An idea. But anyway.
Somebody might tell me, but anyway,
this is the thing. We don't talk on
care.
WhatsApp. People think, they're scheming behind the scenes. We don't fucking say shit to each other.
No. So tell me, guys, Sligo at home Friday night. Neil thinks it's not must win. I couldn't disagree more with Neil, to be honest, which would far be it for me to disagree with a distinguished player like Neil. But to me, it's must win. I think to the vast majority of the fan base, it's must win. I watched Sligo against Dundalk Friday night because there was, it was Cup weekend. We weren't playing, and they weren't exemplary, and Dundalk probably should have scored. But really, at no point did you feel like Sligo were going to not win the game. It was just a thing, and your heart breaks and you see James McManus belt that goal in from 30 yards, 35 yards, whatever it was. And my fear is that they're just man for man, pound for pound, they're better than us, and they'll end up showing that on Friday night, Scott.
So yeah, I'm going to go obviously to this, and I'm going to go to where I normally go. I'm going to stand, and just hope that my club, Cork City, all the games down the past few years, all the people who've passed, all the people who've gone, all the players, just think about the history of this club, and this is just so important. We win this. Yeah, I know I'm saying there's no hope we're going down. If we win, there's a slight, slither of that hope comes back in the door, and it gives us a chance. Draw or lose, and it's going to be a horrible 3 months. We're in July, lads, and it's already biggest game of this. It's make or break. It's final countdown, whatever you want to put it. I'm just going to go there and I'm going to look around and just hope that we can drive on and get all the energy from the past and just give it one shot and just see what happens. Don't give just give it a go. Talk to the players here now. Fans have given up. Players shouldn't have given up. Just give it a go. One last shot. There we go. Free hit.
It's not a game that Sligo must win. And sometimes when you come into a game that you don't have to win, the mentality can be slightly off. So let's go down and we play for a point, we get a point, we get out of there, and sometimes you can kind of get inside your own head, and I find myself hoping and praying that maybe that's the mentality that Sligo come down with. They're not coming down to win, they're just coming down to ensure that they don't lose. And down through the years, we've seen countless examples of teams who set out not to lose a game doing just that, and they end up losing the game. And that for me is kind of where our great hope lies.
I agree with you, Dick. But like going back to what Wayne said too, like they just don't get it. You said it there earlier about like Anna on the other podcast, and he gets it, but like. And there's a handful of others around the club that do, but not enough. And especially the more important lads, the 11 that go out on the pitch on Friday night. Like, there you talk about Neal Horgan's group back then. Like, it's a bygone era, I know at this stage. It's Stone Age stuff. Some of the lads playing on Friday night won't even have been born, or let alone even heard of Cork, only when they decided to join us. But, like, they don't understand the history and the importance of this, and like the last 6 or 7 years of the club and the pain we've been through, even like recent history, and how important it is to keep us in the Premier Division. And that's what's worrying to me, to be honest, is, like these players should like listen to what Neil had to say there about like becoming history makers in their own unique way by keeping us up. And, for the rest of this week, like, is it nearly worth at this stage them watching Biscuits, Balls and Bishopstown rather than footage of Sligo, like, and just understanding about the history of the club and that whole aspect of it. But I just feel with the modern player these days and the type of player we brought in, and I'm not tearing them all with the same brush, but I just don't think they'll get it, and they won't get it by Friday. And I think there'll be a low enough crowd. I think maybe max 2,500, maybe max. I think this is the last throw of the dice in terms of jeopardy per se that will entice the Cork public in. This is the last game where like there's something on the line, I feel, and we can continue that and keep things on the line in the last remaining like 5 home games after the Sligo game. But like this, to me, I think from the great Cork sporting public perspective, will be I'll go Friday now, and if they lose, that's it for me for the rest of the season. Yeah.
Scott, is this a game, like I look at this as a game that's, you play the percentages, you abandon the tiki-taka played out from the back bullshit that's been going on, you go direct, I don't want to say you play rugby like, but you play the game in their half, you play the game as close to their goal as you can, which means you play it from as far away from our goal as you possibly can. You knock balls in down the line, you turn them, you try and build sustained periods of pressure whereby you're just on top, you have them pinned, they can't get out, you get a few shots off, the crowd gets into it, the crowd gets behind you, and you play that kind of a game. To do that, it means that Ger Nash has to abandon his most basic footballing principles. But surely if there's ever a time to abandon them, Friday night's the time is the time to abandon those footballing principles and just do whatever needs to be done to win the game.
I think it's more simple than that. I think it's a case of who wants it more. I think don't hide, show some pride, show some passion, show some determination, and show what you're made of. Those 5 key elements have to be there before we think of any tactical changes. If you haven't got that, Gerard Nash will know this week if we have a chance or not. He'll know by now. These players need to be focused. They need to be ready to give it the game of their lives. They really do, because this is actually the final chance. This is it. There is no tomorrow, like Saturday, I should say. There is no Saturday, and there literally is nothing after this. lose this and you're getting 700 people a game every week and playing in front of that and your career is going to be over. Like, no one's going to watch you. Win it and you could be heroes. Just for one day.
Corny. Scotty's getting corny though on top of everything else.
If it's one thing I hate more than that Kingfisher Killer song, it's U2, and you just quoted it there like this unforgivable stuff.
It's David Bowie, you know?
I was just going to say, it's not U2.
Damn it. Edit.
No, that's editing it under no circumstances.
But it's about this is about mentality. It really is. Sligo they're a better team. They're 9th in the table. We need to catch them on the hop. The crowd won't be big, so you got to give. There's none of this passionate Rebel Army crowd bullshit. There'll be fucking nobody there. Like, it's on TV. You're in front of a national audience of probably 60,000 people probably watch it. Just show something. It's your last hurrah. Like, give it a go and just fucking see what happens.
It's on Virgin, Deck, as Scotty said. It's also on News Talk as their radio commentary game. Ocean FM are sending their commentary down, so it's on Sligo-based radio as well. It's on LOI TV. This is a game, there's not many games on because the European teams aren't playing Friday night. This is a game the whole country could be watching. Like, and can I ask you the role of the supporters here? Because, like, Scotty says there won't be many there. I think there might be. I think last chance saloon.
2,000.
Last chance saloon. I'd hope there'd be more, but maybe there won't be. But it's kind of like whoever's there, pre-game, during the game, it has to be 100% support the team, because I'm presuming Sligo are going to come down with a game plan of saying, okay, let's keep Cork City out for the first 20 minutes. Let's quieten the crowd. We know by coming up to half-time, if it's 0-0, the crowd are going to start getting on City's backs. We can't fall into that as a fan base. We can't fall into that trap. We have to be positive. We have to be behind the players. If things haven't gone right at full time, by all means, don't
go on the pitch.
Don't go on the pitch, but, whatever you feel you need to get off your chest, get it off your chest. But the role of the supporters for the 90 minutes and probably the half an hour before the game, Deck, it has to be positive. It has to be behind the players. It has to be behind the club.
Yeah, it has to be, Deck. But I will caveat that with, I have to be a realist here in the sense, and I'm I've been burned enough this season in terms of my lofty predictions and stuff like that. But I agree with you, but is it hard for the supporters to contain their emotion and frustration if we go 1-0 down and there's only a half an hour left in the game, or 2-0 down and it's the last 15-20 minutes? So I agree with you 100%. I hope the club as well help the supporters by playing some of the more chantable along tunes like Carnaval de Paris and stuff like that as the players are coming onto the pitch, and After All and all that stuff. And just bin a lot of the other stuff that we've been trying, and just really try and get the crowd behind them. I think it's a two-way street, Deck, to be honest. I think the club can do a little bit too here to try and help the atmosphere. And I hope, they take our advice again from this podcast and do some of that on Friday. And I'll be delighted if they do. And, as you said, get behind the team. And to echo some of what Wayne said there, this is Last Chance Saloon, and we can all be heroes just for one day.
Great U2 song.
Scotty,
I've had a long week,
is it possible to actually blame Dropkick Murphys for our...
Yeah, sure, look, everyone's to blame.
Yeah, as I said many times, Dick, there's many things that go into a reason a club gets relegated, and you can definitely lump that in as well, yeah.
I don't know, so...
Up 1%, but it's
Here's a question for you, Scott. No. Before we go to predictions, maybe. Well, look, I say one question. Everybody knows it's going to be 4. But Shawnee or Lutz starting?
You start Shawnee. Yeah, you have to. You go with your best team. If it breaks down, it breaks down. At least you've no regrets. You have to come out of this game with no regrets. You can't have a lineup right at 6 p.m, 6:30, whatever time it is, and fans tweeting back to the club going, what the fuck is this? You have to pick the right team. You have to set the stall and have the atmosphere, because people are going to be in the ground going, why the fuck is Lutz starting ahead of Maguire? Or you have to start your best team.
Is there not an argument to be made here that Shawnee as a striker, back to goal striker, it doesn't work? I mean, that's not the role he played 7-8 years ago,
Yes.
you know, and
if he's playing back to goal Friday night, we're fucked. We're fucked.
No, I understand that, but what I'm talking about is horses for courses, and as a 9, he's probably not what you want. He's these days, I think he's more of a 10. So is there an argument for starting both? But then if you start both, you've nothing to come off the bench to play up top. You know what I mean? You're like, it just comes back to squad
ahead
again.
Of Maguire, if Luke starts ahead of Maguire, the fan base, no matter how illogical it sounds, will lose their shit.
But if they both start, if Lutz starts as a 9 and Maguire starts as a 10, like, is there an argument for that?
Unless he's been doing fantastic in training, Dick, but all we hear there is every player is doing fantastic in training.
Best buddies.
Oh, I know. It's just depressing, isn't it?
But it comes back to squad. We don't have options.
No, we don't. Like,
we don't have options. And, like, okay.
Yeah, like, at the end of the day, we're at home. We have to win. I see where you're coming from, Dick. Do we play our two more capable forwards?
The thing is, right, start of the season, we only had Maguire, Keating and Skeeters, right? But there were 3 strikers, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Clancy's gone. Now we've got 2 strikers. Like, why haven't we got this extra striker in? Playing Clancy, he didn't have enough strikers. We had Keating and Maguire, who thought they'd both get injured. But why is it happening again? Why did it happen last year when we had Murphy and fucking... I just don't understand it.
No, you're right, Scott. But I mean, as I said, it's back to squad building, and look, the age-old notion that the squad is weaker now than it was on the first day of the transfer window. So here we are. Okay, Jesus Christ Almighty.
Just finish the predictions, because I tell you, next week's pod, I hope we're happy. I want to play Sunshine Lollipops if we win. Okay, that's what we're going to play.
Have it here, lads. It's in the can, ready to
Are we doing a 955 Friday? Like, it could be end of days, like.
Oh dear!
If tomorrow never comes, you know.
We'll see what the sentiment is like. I think it's too early to commit. Just for the record here, for the listeners, we understand those 955 lives are very popular, but we want to hit a sweet spot of only doing them when we feel like it's right, and we don't want to do one every week or every second week, and because we feel that they lose their luster. But yeah,
this is hard. Can we just end this fucking pod seriously? Because there's no one listening now. It's gotten so depressing.
Okay. Why am I saying revolution? I think that's stuck in my head from earlier on. Prediction, Scotty?
2-2.
Okay. TP1?
2-0 Cork City.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah, look. Yeah, I look. I watched Sligo the other night. People probably know the stage I like a bet. I backed them in Dundalk. I backed them -1 in Dundalk. Dundalk were favourites for that game, guys. Like, anyway, but look, I just can't see it. I don't think there's a logical space where you can say Cork City are going to beat Sligo on Friday night. But then football's not logical; it's illogical. So I'll go for 4-1 Cork City.
What do you really think, though, lads? Come on.
No,
I genuinely do think this is do or die, and our season cannot be that miserable.
Yeah, but
and the gods of football cannot be that cruel to us all.
Which hasn't happened. We leave clean sheet. It hasn't happened. It does.
We did. We kept a clean sheet.
Stop, really.
I think the problem is, for me, the biggest problem is McManus and Doyle Hayes will dominate the middle of the park. And when you dominate the middle of the park, you tend to go on and win games. So are we willing to bypass the middle of the park and play the game that I spoke about playing and just hit the corners, turn them around?
One stuff. Oh.
Yeah,
play too small, lads.
Play percentage football, you know?
I just don't think Maguire has that game in him, or Cahill, or, I don't think we have it. I think Sligo will be too strong at the fullback positions, and they'll you see, this is it. They'll play like the Neal Horgan mentality of winning these headers as if my life depends on it. And I said this before as well, as we joked there about us being unable to keep a clean sheet. Our players don't, and our defenders don't play in that way, that like a clean sheet now as if my life depends on it. And they never did all year. And I called that out a good couple of weeks back. We conceded this tame goal from a free kick or something like that, little dink over the wall, and I just thought, you know what, that summed us up. But I'm hoping it all changes on Friday night.
Yeah, but it has to change. I'm telling you, if we play the ticky-tacky played out from the back bullshit that we went on, we're going to get beaten. So it has to change.
Right, lads.
Any bar mitzvahs you want to call out, Scott? Any birthdays? Any,
Kerry's twins' birthday on Thursday.
It's the Carey twins' birthday on Thursday. Well, happy birthday to the Carey twins. I mean, not a whole lot more I can say. Scott, any good luck messages, best wishes?
Just win the fucking game. Simple. It's simple. Just win the fucking game.
My twins the greatest birthday present of all time. 3 points.
Scotty's nearly in tears, lads. You can't see him, but he's
he actually is. He actually is. And it's sad.
This episode especially hit me hard. Like, I'm fed up with it. Like.
If anyone out there thinks this club doesn't mean anything to us, we're gravely mistaken.
Okay, on that note, we should say
adios.
Adios, folks.
Cero miedo, amigos.
TP1 and TP2. Jesus Christ.
You'll be TP3 deck, surely.
TPK, TP King.
TP's over and out.
Adios.
Oh, he's still recording. Shit.
No pass around the pledge that made him fine. Adelante is the crier on the hillside. Let us remember them tonight. Bob Hillard was a Church of Ireland pastor. From Killarney across the Pyrenees he came. From Derry came a brave young Christian brother. Side by side they fought and died in Spain. And Tommy Woods at 17 died in Cordoba. But with Vienna he learned to hold the gun. From Dublin to the Via del Rio, where they fought and died beneath the Spanish sun. Viva la Quinta Brigada. No pass around the pledge that made him fight. Adelante